Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
In this edition of Global Print, I will talk to you about India-Bangladesh relations. But before that, dear viewer, I'd like to make an appeal to you. Please do subscribe and pay just a little bit for the print. You know that we have been bringing you the best news stories, the best videos from across the country for this free, fair, non-partisan and unhyphenated journalism. Please do subscribe and pay a little bit. You will find the links for an international as well as for a domestic subscription in the description of this video. So just click on that and you will be able to pay just a little bit. So back to my column Global Print, in which I talk about India-Bangladesh relations. And I start with the 50th anniversary of the war for Bangladesh in 1971, that India fought and defeated Pakistan with a lot of help from the Bangladesh Mukti Bahini. These were Bangladeshi soldiers who fought the good fight and broke away. Then East Pakistan broke away from Pakistan. The country was rent into two, and the Bangladeshis they created their own country, a brand new country in 1971. So this moment is being celebrated today by India and Bangladesh, a very memorable moment. Then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1971, who must be given full credit for going ahead and supporting the Bangladeshis, or then East Pakistan, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the tallest leader, not just of Bangladesh, but from across the region. And he will go down in history as being one of as being a leader that stood up for democracy, for the people's will, and for the people's resistance against authoritarianism that was then sort of rampant across Pakistan. So this moment being celebrated today by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina through a virtual summit. Unfortunately, they cannot meet because of the COVID pandemic. Prime Minister Modi was supposed to go to Dhaka even earlier this year in March to be part of the Bangabandhu's 100th birth anniversary celebrations, the Mujib Borsho. Unfortunately, he was not able to go, and now again he is not able to go, but hopefully in March 2021 he will be present. Hopefully by then there is a vaccine and things will be much better. But as I argue in my column, this is a big moment for India-Bangladesh relations. But there is also something very significant happening. Just a week ago, on the 10th of December, the Chinese big engineering company laid the final of 42 spans off the Padma Bridge, which is over the Padma River, connects the southern part of Bangladesh to the northwestern part. This is about a 6-kilometer long bridge, the longest, of course, in Bangladesh, but also amongst the longest in all of South Asia. And it was a Chinese company that has built this bridge, and this bridge is being completed now. So the final span was laid on the 10th of December. Now, this is interesting because in 1971, the Chinese were with Pakistan against Bangladesh, as was the US, of course, if everybody remembers that. The US supported the Pakistanis, the then Soviet Union was supportive of India. But in today's era, in the present moment, China, which supported Pakistan in 1971 and in 1972, in fact, even vetoed Bangladesh's application at the United Nations, is today one of the biggest, in fact, perhaps the biggest loan givers to Bangladesh. In 2016, Chinese President Xi Jinping had come to Bangladesh and signed a $24 billion check, which gave credit to Bangladesh to avail of cheap credit to build infrastructure across the country. So what is fascinating about the Bangladeshi Prime Minister is that she is not averse to rewriting history. So when Xi Jinping comes, she lays out the red carpet for him. When the Chinese Defense Minister came just a few weeks ago, again, there was this very warm reception for the Chinese. The Chinese, in fact, are building this underground tunnel in Cox's Bazar, which is the tip of, which is on the Bay of Bengal, a very strategically located town. And this sort of tunnel under the river, under the Karnafuli River, is also being built by the Chinese. So the Chinese, using its economy, the fact that it has not been so hit hard by COVID like India and several other countries have been, in offering good money at cheap rates to the Bangladeshis. And Sheikh Hasina, I'm sure she doesn't forget what happened 50 years ago, but she knows that today China is a powerful player and that she must respond to these gestures by the Chinese government. And that's also why the Chinese are expanding influence in Bangladesh and across South Asia. So what does India do? What is also interesting, and that's in my column again in Global Print, is that Prime Minister Modi realizes that India has been very laggardly in not keeping step with the changing game in South Asia. Back in 2011, when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was then Prime Minister, what is interesting is that the government then had offered a 1 billion credit for this very Padma bridge that has been built over the Padma River. But of course, nothing happened. We know that, Indians, the government moves so slowly, the various arms of the government could not get its act together. So that $1 billion credit line was not even used. In 2015, then, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi goes to Dhaka, he offers a 200 million outright grant to build that bridge across the Padma. It is a showpiece bridge. It's the biggest piece of infrastructure that has been built in that country. But even that $200 million grant that India offered was not accepted. In fact, that was accompanied by a $2 billion credit line. But Bangladesh, fed up with waiting for the Indians, had already put a tender out into the market, and this Chinese company had won the tender. Meanwhile, the Bangladeshis wanted to borrow money from the World Bank, the ADB, Japan's loan agencies, but there was, a lot of coming and going to and fro, and the Western aid agencies pulled out, citing corruption issues. So then guess what happened? In December 2016, the Chinese won the tender and began to build a bridge. The bridge building begins sometime in early 2017. And 3 years later, that bridge is completed. It's a marvel of engineering, but not just a marvel of engineering. It is a manifestation of China's will and determination to expand its influence across South Asia. China knows that South Asia is India's backyard. India, this large country, 1.3 billion people, just about the same population that China has. It has very, very close linkages with all parts of South Asia. You share languages, you share culture, history. You have common borders with most of the South Asian countries except Afghanistan. And yet, India has not been active at all in expanding its influence. It has been laggardly. It has been mean-spirited very often. It has played this arrogant big brother, and it has not understood the needs and the ambitions of these small nations around it in the region. China, on the other hand, this big, huge player, rising power, not willing just to take on the Americans, but understands that while it is a little further away from South Asia, the only way it can expand its influence in these countries is by offering aid, as well as not just aid, but cheap aid, and offering projects which it can fulfill quickly and also of good quality. So these tools that China has in its diplomatic arsenal, it is using very, very effectively. It is leveraging these tools to be able to push its political and diplomatic influence. And that is the crux of this of my argument, which is that India has to shape up its game. All is not lost. It's not as if India is now sort of sitting with both with both its folded hands and allowing the Chinese to come into South Asia. And I think that's also very interesting. The Modi government has decided that it will fight back, that South Asia is an area that should be part of India's very, very close relations, and that Bangladesh is going to be the first country with which it's going to start doing this. So the very interesting example is of the COVID vaccine. The Chinese had offered their own COVID vaccine made by Sinovac, which is their drug manufacturer. But the Bangladeshis have told the Chinese that we are not going to pay for the human trials. If you want to pay for these trials that are going to be taking place in Bangladesh, then you have to pay for it. But meanwhile, the Bangladeshis have signed an agreement with the Serum Institute, which is in Pune, for 3 crore doses. Now, the Serum Institute, there is no information about the money that is going to be paid, but it's likely that these doses will either be given free or at a very, very small cost, because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has also got involved, and actually the Serum Institute is manufacturing this COVID vaccine along with the British AstraZeneca, which is making the vaccine. And this sort of alliance of vaccine makers and producers is going to offer this vaccine to developing countries like India and Bangladesh. So India fighting back, Prime Minister Narendra Modi insisting that Bangladesh cannot be lost, it cannot be let go, that this is a very, very special tie that India has with any country. It's not just any country, and it's not just any South Asian country. India has close relations, of course, with Nepal, with Sri Lanka, with the Maldives, with Afghanistan, with Pakistan. There's nothing as of now. It's the ties are very, very frosty. There is no relationship. But Bangladesh, in all of South Asia, very special nation. And that again is the importance of this virtual summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sheikh Hasina on the 17th of December. So watch this space, watch the print videos, read our stories, and subscribe to us and tell us what you think.